Oh, oh, oh no. Here we go again, people, here we go again. Another past-it rock star proclaiming that rock is dead for the 117,000th time. Well, actually not quite this time. There is apparently one band that is still flying the flag for guitar music, and that band is apparently Arctic Monkeys. Blur frontman and the mastermind behind Gorillaz, Damon Albarn, and legendary Swedish rock outfit The Hives have both recently heaped praise on Arctic Monkeys, during what can only be described as the most divisive and controversial part of their career so far. In the midst of touring their latest album, The Car, an album that features little to no conventional rock songs, Damon Albarn has called the Arctic Monkeys the last great guitar band. The Hives have also labelled them the only good, really popular band, and it looks like most of you agree with them. And whilst many of you will know that Arctic Monkeys are my favourite band of this century, at least, I think one of them is right and one of them is wrong. And I'll tell you why. And I'll also tell you why I think that Arctic Monkeys might just end up being one of the last truly world-dominating guitar bands. Let me explain. It really does seem that Arctic Monkeys are a band that can do no wrong these days. Of course, we all know what Arctic Monkeys have done for guitar music over the years. Well, for British indie rock music in general, really. 6 #1 albums, possibly the best debut album of all time from a British rock band, certainly the most influential anyway, and that was all the way back in 2005. 8 years after that release, the band struck gold again, with what can only be described as their second coming. AM, the band's 5th studio album, is thought of by many now as possibly the best indie rock album of the past decade. Over the course of their career, the band have made music that have influenced and transcended multiple generations of fans, young and old. Even Rick Beato's a fan, featuring Do I Wanna Know in his top 20 rhythm guitar parts of all time video. Something I thought I'd never see. But there you go. The band have also earned the respect of many legendary musicians in the rock genre. Iggy Pop, Josh Homme, Dave Grohl, Alison Mosshart, Damon Albarn, The Hives, Fontaines DC, Johnny Marr from The Smiths, Blossoms. It's a long bloody list. They're still topping the bill at festivals around the world, playing ahead of Queens of the Stone Age at Rock Virtual this year, and ahead of the Foo Fighters at Glastonbury, despite the band's latest album, The Car, being possibly the furthest thing the band have ever done from rock music to date. So there are 2 statements here. Damon Albarn is saying that they're the last great guitar band, which is the part that I don't agree with, to be quite honest. What about Foo Fighters and their last album? Okay, granted, hold my hands up, I did give it some initial bad press, and I did criticise the aesthetic of the album in one of my previous videos. Sounded very fuzzy to me and just wasn't mixed very well in my opinion. Having said that, now that I've had more time with it, the songs on that album are solid. It's a really strong album when you consider the quality of the songwriting. I also saw the Foos at Glastonbury this year, where they put on a secret set, and let me tell you now, it's possibly the best thing that I've seen all year. They've still got it, and they're still filling stadiums and headlining festivals all around the world. And yes, they're getting older. One could label their more recent stadium rock albums as dad rock, but I don't care, it's still great music. Either Damon Albarn hasn't heard of the Foo Fighters, or he isn't much of a fan of their music. I don't know, maybe he thinks that they don't write their own songs. I think maybe we should take what he says with a pinch of salt from now on. I would be adding Queens of the Stone Age, Paramore, Muse, maybe even some smaller rock bands like the Cortinas to that list. All of these bands have been pretty consistent and have released great music in the past few years. Although it must be said, they've all been around for at least the same time as, or longer than the Arctic Monkeys. Which should tell you something. At the very least, these other bands should be part of this conversation. I mean, come on, saying that the Arctic Monkeys are the last great guitar band does throw shade on several other great bands that deserve more credit in my view. Respectfully disagree with you, Damon, I have to say. However, I do agree with Pele from The Hives. Now what he's saying is a little bit different. He said that Arctic Monkeys are the only good, really popular band, which, although again is a very dismissive statement when you think about the other good popular bands out there, I think I know what he's getting at. And I guess it depends what you mean by popular. And I think by popular, what Pele means here is stadium fillers, world dominators. Arctic Monkeys are currently on a global massive stadium tour, playing to what, between 50 and 100,000 people per night. Absolutely monumental little when you consider where the band are in their career. In the last decade, they've released 2 highly divisive albums. One, in essence, is basically a lounge jazz album. The other may as well be a vintage French cinema movie soundtrack. They are not what you think of when you think pop rock album. And despite all of this, the band seem to have retained a huge following. Huge. I personally think it's pretty mind-blowing, especially considering what they've delivered music-wise over the past 10 years. But I do think the reason that the band have retained such a huge following over the years, not in whole, but a huge reason nonetheless, is down to nostalgia. It's what the band achieved in their early years, and the heights that they reached, the people that they touched with those earlier songs that are now firmly in the hearts of the British public, and many, many people across the world. No matter how you feel about the past 2 albums, you're still going to buy tickets to go and see them, because like me, like you, like everybody that fell in love with the band all those years ago, a few hours of that nostalgia, to sing those songs with the band in a field with a bunch of other people that all loved that one same thing, and loved what it symbolised and what it meant, is priceless. So back to that statement about Arctic Monkeys being the only good, really popular band. Well, in many ways, yes, they are one of the only remaining really good and really popular world-dominating bands. But I don't think that's necessarily because Arctic Monkeys are a god-tier level of band, and all of the bands just aren't as good, as exceptional as they are. I think it's more a symptom of how the industry has changed. For me, to understand why there have been no bands as big as Arctic Monkeys, and by big, I mean, do they sell as many album copies? Do they sell as many tickets? Are they headlining almost every music festival around the world? I think you have to ask yourself the following question. If Arctic Monkeys' debut album was released today, would the band still be as big? Would that album be as much of a hit? And yes, some of the lyrical themes and the guitar sounds will be out of date, but theoretically speaking, if you updated that album to fit in with societal norms and modern day culture, would the band be as big? You see, I don't think they would. In my view, Arctic Monkeys are an exceptional band. However, they're also an exceptionally lucky band, propelled to extreme levels of popularity as a result of the way that music was consumed back in the day. They are nicknamed, after all, the first internet band. Although many people didn't actually surf the internet when Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not was released, the band definitely rode that wave. I also think the band broke at a time where cult followings in music was still very much a thing. When you ask people today, what kind of music do you like? They will most likely say, I like a bit of everything, me. There was no such thing as that answer when I was back at school. People had only a few albums on their iPods, and for that reason allegiances to certain genres was a thing. Cult followings for particular bands was a thing. You had to go out and buy the record or buy the CD, and because of that you absolutely rinsed it. You listened to it a million times over, and as a result you'd be almost protective over it. I don't think new bands stand much of a chance of reaching those same heights as Arctic Monkeys did with how music is consumed in the modern day. There are nearly 40,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify every day. That is 1.2 million tracks per calendar month. More music and more different types of music are now more easily accessible to everybody, which is a great leveler in the sense that more musicians can get their music heard. And that's why people don't just have one genre of music that they listen to all the time. They listen to a bit of everything because it's available. But a significant consequence of that is that you won't get hugely popular bands anymore. No mass cult followings like we've had in the past. Superfans, yes, but mass cult followings? I don't think so. We're no longer seeing a rise of one culture to dominate them all. Thanks to streaming and music becoming way more available, we now have little pockets of subcultures everywhere, and way more variety. But I've got to say, there is something really special about one band just capturing the hearts and imaginations of an entire nation. So there you have it, people. For me, I actually do think that Arctic Monkeys will probably be one of the last genuinely gigantic, world-dominating guitar bands, at least in this country. I do think that the way that music is consumed these days really makes it difficult for bands to reach that same level of popularity and size as in previous decades. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video, and no, rock is not dead, it's very much still alive and breathing. But I am very interested to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Arctic Monkeys will be the last, or one of the last, genuinely big world-dominating guitar bands? Or do you think it's just a matter of time before the next band picks up that mantle and starts headlining festivals all around the world? Let me know in the comments below. Do hit that like button to show your support, subscribe to the channel would be hugely appreciated, and if you are interested in watching some more Arctic Monkeys related content, including why I think most people are wrong about their recent Glastonbury performance, or if you're not into that and you want to see me make a song on an iPad instead, then here are a few links to some videos that you may want to watch next. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.